Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your Excellency, Sima Pravita, Director of this class and educator in today's debate. Your Honorable Timekeeper, all speaker and all audience. Let me introduce myself. I am Nurmaeti, person, and this is Tati, timekeeper. Today's debate consists of two teams. There are affirmative and opposition team. And the English debate motion today is the House to abolish sex education in school. Deputy Prime Minister, Kholisah as government member, and last Mila as government whip. And in opposition team, we also have 4 speakers. There are Rika as leader of opposition, and Anisa Indri as deputy leader, Mutiara as member of opposition, and last Iin as opposition whip. Before starting, let's invite the timekeeper Tati to explain the debate timing. Tati, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nurholis, timekeeper. I want to explain the time of the debate. Each speaker has 7 minutes to speak with the opening speech or argument. POA can only be expressed between the first minute mark and the 6-minute speech mark. When either one, it means you have passed on minutes and the POA has been alive. And then when I double tap, it means you have spent 6 minutes and the POA has closed. To submit a POA, member must stand for 1 his head and wait for the speaker to accept or reject your POA. And is second to submit your question or point. Then I tap 3 times, it means your time is up. And when I tap repeatedly, means you have to stop your presentation because 7 minutes and 1 second have passed. And then I mention the time each speaker has spent. That's some information related to the debate time. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Tati, for your explanation. So the English debate with motion. This house which abolish sex education in school is started. We invite the affirmative team to state the topic. First up is the Prime Minister Amelia, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your Excellency Sima is the lecturer of this class as educator in today's debate. Your Honorable Timekeeper, Your Honorable Master of Ceremony, Your Honorable All Speaker in Opposition Debates, Your Honorable the audience, and my beloved team. I hope we can all in good condition today. Before I go to my argument, I will introduce my team and point of view in my team. I'm Amelia as Prime Minister, will focus social culture point of view. My second speaker, Lena Nurfadillah, Deputy Prime Minister, will focus psychology. My third speaker, Kholisah, as government, will focus parent role. My fourth speaker, Mila, as government, will give the coalition in our group argument. Okay? The motion of our debate is abolish sex education in middle school. First of all, I would like to define our motion today. Abolish is formally put into system practice or institution. Sex education is clear and correct information on the issue of human sexuality. Middle school is the same as junior high school. All word by word definition are referenced from Oxford. No, I will fully define our motion today. Abolish sex education. As we know, sex education is clear and correct information on the issue of human sexuality. The information includes the process of conception, pregnancy to birth, sexual behavior, sexual relation, and aspects of reproduction. So, I really agree with the motion if government wants to abolish sex education in middle school. As we know, this will like in Indonesia, which a country where the majority of the population is Muslim. So that it makes the Indonesia state stick with the traditional values of culture.
like in Western country, it's normal. There won't be a problem because their country is already a free country. But if you return to Indonesia, there will be many conflicts because Indonesia is Muslim majority country. Even though there are some people agree that those who sex, even though there are prohibited because we live in a country with a large Muslim majority, not in Western country where a majority of Muslims are few. It is associated with the current era. The more your children are daring contradictory, plus the water is already ugly. Maybe that will make this child right of today youth. Isn't it? There may be a sex education in school because they are still at vulnerable age to humanity, something that just good. The conclusion is that culture point of view Indonesia sex education should be removed from junior high school because this can have a negative effect on their midsense and can also trigger conflict in society. And it will be better if at that age it was taught by parents who spend 24 hours with them. Okay, my dear. Thank you.
Deputy Prime Minister Amelia spent the time 3 minutes and 23 seconds.
Okay. The next speaker from the opposition team, there is Rika as leader of opposition. Rika, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Your Excellency, Ms. Hikmah Pratikasari, as the lecturer in this class and as educator in this debate, the Honorable, the Master of Ceremony, the Honorable, the Timekeeper, the Honorable from Affirmative team, and the Honorable from Audience, and my beloved teams. Before I going to explain the arguments, I will introduce my team. I'm Rika Aulia as the first speaker. My job is to explain the keyword and state the basis of our team's arguments. On my left is Anisa Indri Hastuti as the second speaker. Her job is to respond to affirmative arguments, strengthen our team's argument with example and facts based on the thinking contraction of the pro team. And furthermore, Mutiara Mauizah as the third speaker will respond to statement from the counter from. Then the last speaker is Iin Inayah who will summarize the statement from first, second, and third speaker. And now I will define our motion today. Abolish sex education in middle school. Abolish is to abolish something to official and law. Sex is the state of being male or female. Education is teaching process. Middle school is a school for children between the age of 9 and 13. And we know teenagers are not easily exposed to information, and adolescence to is a regulation period, so that if parents not provide correct knowledge from an early age, children can get incorrect information and become sexually active and more quickly. And we from opposition team disagree with this abolition sex education in middle school. In the area of globalization, the advancement of science and technology, teenagers need knowledge related to change in themselves. And I got an example from a music art teacher, City Middle School, John Catholic School, Serpong South Tangerang, Mauren, Amelia. During music practice outside school, and the student talked about many things, including dating. They already know the term petting or kissing. This means that sex education is very important given to teenagers. The reason, because that today children are much different from previous generation, and teenage sex education is not only teaching about the physical change of the adolescents during puberty, but also about what things should be avoided, and which aim to equip children and youth with the knowledge, skill, attitude, and value will promote their health and well-being, and they develop mutually respectful social and sexually relationship, taking into account how their choice. Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Premier Mr. Rika Aulia spent the time 3 minutes and 54 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, now we go to the affirmative team. There is Lena as the definition. Lena, have it yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable to educator Musik Mapravita Sari MPD, as our lecture in this debate and critical thinking lesson. Honorable to chairperson, honorable to timekeeper, honorable to opposition team, honorable to the audience and my beloved team. Okay, as we know that we live in Indonesia. In Indonesia have 5 levels of education, such as kindergarten, elementary, junior high school, senior high school, colleges or university. So with this, we know with the different levels, it also have different age of students, different mindset of students, and it means the teachers have different method and different material to teach them. Example like kindergarten is only talk about color, animals, and like something easy, but after that it will be upgrade and upgrade. So when we talk about this sex education, how if the junior high school is talk about sex education, and I think it doesn't really for junior high school. Okay, before I'm going to my argument, I will introduce myself. My name is Lena Nurfadillah, I as Deputy Prime Minister, and here I will concern or focus on psychology point of view. Okay, so our mission today is this house would abolish sex education in middle school. What my first speaker have told you before, middle school is meant like junior high school. It consists at 13 until 15 years old. So it's like early teenagers. And then before I'm going to my argument, I will rebut you that the first speaker from opposition team that you say you give us the example if after the student doing like a music class, they always are talking about kissing and something negative one. So that you think if we are junior high school learn about sex education, they are real don't talk about that. I mean it's more over. It's more sensitively, because in sex education we talk about sexuality, we talk about yes please.
Thank you. Before it, if you say that sex education is not about the sensitive education, is not. It's because the sex education is teach about the anatomy body of people, human reproductive system, transmission of sexual transmission such as
Just give your
HIV.
point. Just give your point because it's POA no rebuttal.
Then can me
Educator please. It's
can
only POA.
make children understand about the consequence for themselves and can respect themselves.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here POA is only a little bit, so much talking. It's rebuttal that thing. Okay, I don't know what to say that. Okay, back to my argument. So, my argument, I really disagree with this motion. I really agree with this motion. If the government or the house that abolish sex education for middle school, because of why? That in psychology point of view, the junior high school or the early teenager have very labile and distable of the psychology. I get it back from hellodoc.com. It's by Dr. Dama Bupahita that talk about this psychology of early teenager. In the middle
school or the junior high school student have unstable psychology, but emotion and socially. With change it's because their hormones and nervous was changed. So, can you imagine when they are the junior high school is learned about sex education in their class with their teacher? Is that the teacher is will 24 hours with the student? No, the teacher will only together with the student only on class. So how outside class the student will explore it more with individual. So it's dangerous. Okay, so when they are learn about sex education, maybe they are will worry, shy, laughing, think this is the funny ones, and then they are will curiosity, as we will never know what will they do and feel. But once that we know is their emotion and their mindset is not ready to get sex education in class, and they can get this sex education by their parents. Their parents is more now better than children, than teachers. Okay, they can get this education from their parents. I got the evidence from healthydetik.com that parents are be obligated to play a role for early teenager to know about sex education. And then my first speaker have told you in social culture point of view to say that the Indonesia is a Muslim majority, so very protective of the culture and the society opinions that sex education in middle school will be misinterpreted to allow free sex, and it's very taboo in Indonesia. Kumparan Science News in told that in UK that other countries, foreign countries, that sex education also have been sensitively, because that the school, every school is not like obligatory the student to join this sex education at the class, but that the class in UK is give the handover to parents. The parents get the rule that their children will join the class or not. So it's been from UK. Okay, what I have told you before, I can conclude that I really agree with this motion. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Deputy Premier Minister Lena Nurfadillah spent the time 6 minutes and 54 seconds.
Next speaker is Anisa, Deputy Leader. Anisa,
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Respectable Miss Hikmah Pravitasari as lecturer and educator, honorable timekeeper and chairman, and all of students and relevant meeting. Okay, here I don't agree about abolish sex education and middle school students, because I think this education is very important in middle school students. And we have now many of parents and many of people, they think if that sex education is teach about the activity sexual. Actually, as I said before, this education is only teach about anatomy body of people, human reproductive system, transmission of sexual transmitted disease such as HIV or AIDS. It might can give the student understand about the consequence from the sexual activities, and can respect themselves. May they don't fall to the free sex. And we have now this sex education have differently as before, like said in our Quran that that this person is forbidden to seclusion between women and gentlemen before their marriage. And I have received the website when contact the Compass held on free day for April 2014. He cites teenagers with knowledge about sexuality. That's why they need sex education. And here I will give the benefit from this sex education. First, this education can provide correct and incorrect the information about body development during the transition from the child to teenager. And second, can prevent teenager from having free sex. And for the last, can make children understand about the consequence from the sex free. Maybe enough from me.
Okay, next thing, Rika Minister Anisa, Indri, Hastuti, spend the time 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay. And the next speaker is Kholisah, as government member from the affirmative. Kholisah, time is yours.
Okay, as we know, the middle school students are in their teens, the period of transition from childhood to adulthood. Whereas this time, they experience psychological and psychosocial changes. So, sex education is not considered to be given in middle school because at that time, they not only need the material but also the direction and approach. And the role of parents is considered more suitable to be delivered to them. If what they get from the teacher is only material, it will have bad impact to them. In addition, there are many lessons that are more suitable that given to the teacher in the school. So I think sex education in middle school should be abolished. Okay? Before I express my opinion, let I say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Honorable Mrs. Mapravitasari, as the instigator of this debate, Honorable Chairperson, Timekeeper, Opposition Team, and Mauizah Team. I am Kholisah. As the government member of this team, I will focus on the parent of role of middle school students. I really agree with this motion. The sex education in middle school students should be abolished. Because I think sex education for middle school is enough for their parents. They explain to them. Because their parents are the closest people to them, the people who always teach, who have spent time, who have a time with them. Therefore, they can control and direction and give approach. Not only the material. While the teacher cannot give that. Therefore, so that while at that period, they not only need the material but also the direction and approach. Regarding on my opinion, I get the resource from blog.kita.id, which uploaded on 15 November 2020. They say that role of parents is more important in educating children than the teacher, because the parent can play a role as friend and confident, while the teacher is cannot because of time limit and other factors they have. And again, middle school students are in puberty. According to primary.co.id, puberty is the time of transition from childhood to adulthood. They experience emotional changes, maturation of hormones and reproductive organs. If in this time they only get the material, of course, they have bad effect on them. From these sources, it can be concluded that middle school students need direction and approach, not only material, and only parents can provide all three things at the same time. So I feel sex education in middle school students should be abolished. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And Honorable Ms. Bima Kartikasari as the teachers of debate, and Honorable moderators, and last is Honorable the debaters, and last is all my friends whom I love. Okay, and now I would like to give my opinion about this House would abolish sex education in middle school. And my opinion is I don't agree about this can lead to ignorance of the children, especially teenagers, about positive or negative and causes or consequence or promiscuity. One of them is that so they don't abuse sex and education, namely, from the first is why their abstinence from sex because to instill or suggest abstinence from sex. The second is in this case to it provides tips and how to have sex activities using the right step, but free sex is still prohibited. The last is finally we can inform about the PMS or premenstrual sex, which is to provide information about the dangers of which is one of the consequence of free sex behavior.
Please.
Okay.
That is guaranteed if the student will never do sex if they are get the sex education.
Okay. Just now Amelia said, or you or Kholisah just now said you don't agree. You agree about the abolish the education in the middle school, but just now Amelia said there is the effect. Yeah, there is the effect or the impact about education sex of in the middle school. But if we give something about sex, but I think we must giving a knowledge or education about sex. But it just a positive or negative the effect about education sex like that. And then what is the benefit, the drawback about sex education? What is the positive or negative about sex education sex? It's just that, but not all, but not it just education sex like that. Yeah. And we must give it. What is the negative or positive in the cycle? In the cycle promiscuity, in the cycle of the friends or the cycle friends, and the last is we must do our children. We must giving the education sex about the positive or negative to our children or our student. The answer about the promiscuity.
Very please. Is that only your opinion? Because you don't give us the opinions.
My opinion, it's just we have given the education sex in the middle school, because it just that about the positive or negative in the middle cycle friends. Maybe enough from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Deputy Prime Minister Mutiara spent the time 3 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we go to the affirmative team. There is Mila as Mila and
Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Honorable Ms. Kartikasari Indri as the lecturer in this class and educator today debate. And Honorable timekeeper, Master of Ceremony, opposition team, and audience in today debate. As the government, with all of this debate, I'm Lena Hasanah. I will be shortly concluding what all the speakers have been before me. The time minister or the first speaker who focus on social culture.
In Islam, when explaining about sex education, for minors are not should be become because the custom in society is that children at junior high school level are still innocent, and it is not appropriate to think about sensitive things with learning at school who are afraid to think unwanted truths. And followed by Deputy Prime or the second speaker who focus in psychology. What they said was that at the junior high school level, discussing sex education should be removed because they are not old enough and their psychology is not mature enough to discuss sensitive things. They are afraid something unwanted will happen because it is enough complicated what to learn. Next is my third speaker, or government member speaker, who focus in parents' role. It is true when he said the teaching will definitely to be close all the students personally. So sex learning seems to be abolished for junior high school level because sensitive things like that must be taught with a direct approach, the role of parents, which can provide more time for supervising children at home when they know what sex learning is like. Before I post this presentation, let me show you my team goodness and the weakness, the opposition team. Will the opposition group only made medal and unclear arguments in each speaker, there was also not reinforcement of each other and not made fact were used. So please, for adjudicator, choose my team as the winner of this debate. Enough for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Deputy Prime Minister Nurul Hasanah spend the time 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay, the last speaker is from the opposition team. There is Iin as opposition whip. Iin, and it's yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The Honorable receive my PD as my lecturer, and then the Honorable moderator, and the Honorable timekeeper, and all of my team. Thanks for the opportunity. Before I conclude, let me introduce myself. My name is Iin Inayah as first speaker. And I would like to conclude all arguments of my team. It can be concluded that the first speaker argument say that have to reason the first adolescence is period of transition from childhood to adulthood. Now as puberty, therefore many teenagers who get information that is not true and more quickly become sexually active. And second, because teenagers need knowledge related to change in themselves, not only physically, but also emotionally and socially, with those around them. This is actually the focus of adolescents' sex education, which is considered important by various parties, from international organizations such as UN agency. And the second speaker says, she has some things about sex education. The first, the importance of sex education given an early age, such as teach the first introduction body parts that are forbidden to be touched and seen by people other than themselves. And second, teach the difference in body parts and vital organ between women and men. And the last, instilling shame in children from young age. And benefit of sex education, the first can provide correct and clear information
body development during the transition from child to teenager. And the second, can prevent teenager from having sex. And the last, can prevent violence and sexual harassment by realizing that they must respect and take care of bodies. And it can also be said as an argument from the third speaker. She don't agree with the abolition of sex education in high school because this can lead to ignore of children, especially teenagers, about the positive or negative causes and consequences. With this, we can provide sex education for teenagers because it can provide insight to students about the dangers of sex, of free sex, or by providing insight into safe and healthy adult sexual behavior. Okay, thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, Deputy Prime Minister is spend the time 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, now we are at the end of this debate. In this debate with motion, this House will abolish sex education in school is ended. Thank you for your attention and the best wish to all of us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam